Hello, Bright Lights. Let's talk tarot. This week in our Soul Ascension Tarot reading mini lesson, we're talking about the High Priestess, which is card number 2 in the Major Arcana. And I have a special affinity for this card, I must admit. So let's pull up the Rider-Waite version of this card on the screen and talk about it. You can see the High Priestess. She's seated on a throne, and on either side of her are pillars, black and white, that represents balancing forces, and it's also a doorway that she walks through. You can see that she has a moon and she has the symbol of Venus at her feet. So the High Priestess represents the divine feminine with us, and she channels the goddess. She channels divine love and brings divine love into the earth. Let's take a look at her in the Druidcraft deck. So in the Druidcraft High Priestess, we see a woman out in nature, and she's between two stone pillars. She has a stone altar before her, and her hands are raised and her eyes are closed. The moon is above her, and there's a book in front of her. And I really love this card in this rendition of the High Priestess. It's really beautiful. The Druidcraft deck is a Rider-Waite inspired deck. And so you have that doorway there that she's in, and you see the moon shining in there. And the fact that her eyes are closed and her hands are raised is a sense of trust, of going within and inner knowing. And that is definitely what the High Priestess is all about. That level of balance of divine feminine that goes within and lives from an intuitive place. And that's why we see the moon up there. And before her, there's a book of secrets. I'm sure she's read the book, and those are within her, and she carries them in her heart. This is the second card in the Major Arcana, and as such, it's 2, the number 2. And 2 is important because 2 represents balance. Whenever we have a card that reduces to 2, so that would be like 11 reduces down to 2, 1 plus 1 is 2, and 20 is also 2. We know that we are at a place of balance where balance is being worked out and expressed. So the higher up we get in the cards, like the number 11 or the number 20, the more refined that energy is. So this is the beginning of learning balance. We come out of the magician, the I am, the I'm going to create, I'm going to manifest and put into the world, into this I know, and that is her motto, I know. The High Priestess knows because she comes from a place from within. She lives from her heart. And from a Soul Ascension perspective, this is a very important part of our journey where we move out of just wanting to manifest and into a place of knowing. And when we manifest from a place of knowing, it is a place of greater balance. When we know something, then we believe it. And then our heart and our head are aligned, and we actually manifest from a place that really brings us joy, because these things are anchored to a place deep within us. So the High Priestess represents the harmony and the ability to harmonize with the will of divine nature. She lives in consort with nature, and she feels at ease wherever she goes. She's cultivated her intuition and come into a place where the signs and symbols that come to her are not ones that she comprehends with her head, but one that she comprehends with her heart. So she feels her way through the world. She's a deeply feeling card. Again, in the Soul's Ascension perspective and the process, she's still quite unformed. She is in herself potential, kind of embodied. She doesn't necessarily push that into being. She resides in a place of trust, knowing that what is right comes to her. So when I see this in a reading, I really know that the querent is at a place where they're balancing their inner life in their outer world, and they're learning to come from a place of not just wanting to do, but a place of wanting to be who they really are from an authentic standpoint. And they're doing that by going within. They're not doing that by doing. They're doing it by being and by trusting themselves. So this is a place, and this is the lessons of learning to trust your inner voice. If this comes up in your reading, that's what you're being asked to do, is to go within. Stop looking at the situations outside of yourself as signs and symbols. Instead, go within and get quiet. If this comes up in your hopes and fears position in the Celtic Cross, I want to say that's definitely one. Our biggest hope is also our greatest fear. It's time to be alone with yourself. It's time to be alone with yourself and realize that you have a personal power that comes from the stillness of being yourself and being in a place of going within, trusting your heart, opening your heart. On a higher level, this represents the ability to access the Akashic records. All of the wisdom that's available to us is there for the High Priestess and there for the taking. If you will quiet yourself, if you will get to a still place, you will know your own inner power of stillness, and you will understand what knowing really is. Knowing doesn't need to do anything. It simply is and exudes this power and force, this powerful nature of trust. The High Priestess is related to the moon and the powers of the moon and the moon card itself. And what we know about the moon is the place where, when we are out in your yard and say you're walking out to take the trash out at night, you know the way to the trash can. You've been there before, and the moon is out and it's just barely illuminated things. And we can turn shadows into monsters if we want to. The moonlight will do that. But the ability of the priestess is to navigate these types of moments of fear and uncertainty by going into her own inner knowing. Remember, you know the way to the trash can. There's no monster. That's really just that bush over there that's been there forever. And so when this comes up in a spread, you're again being asked to go into that inner knowing, and you should counsel yourself or the person before you to really trust that, to push aside shadows within themselves and really get to the heart and the truth of who they are by quieting the noise around them and residing within. A word on the priestess reversed. If you've received the priestess reversed in your spread, you can read that. One of the ways to read that is just a fear of being alone with yourself. That you may be at a place where there are so many feelings going on within you that you feel like if you stop or slow down, that you may be overwhelmed by them. And it's always good to remember that you are personally empowered to be present with yourself, and that running away from your feelings and your thoughts with any kind of escape will only bring you back around to yourself. No matter where you go, there you are. So when this comes up reversed, it is a warning to stop, to slow down and pay attention, and not to run away from what's going on, and to be very present with your personal power. If you're interested in a handout on the priestess, you can use the link below to go to my page, and there's just a free printout there. You'll get keywords for the priestess. You'll get her motto, which is I know. And you'll also get something about her archetype and how to apply that. So that's in the link below. I also want to encourage you to sign up for my weekly tarot forecast, and there's a link below there as well. Share with me below your thoughts on the priestess and how she's shown up in your spreads. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them either in the comments or make a video on it. So again, the tarot is a beautiful journey into personal self, and the invitation of the High Priestess is just that, to really know who you are through deep reflection and understanding. As you move into reading the tarot, trust yourself more and more to understand the signs and symbols that reflect your own consciousness back to you. If you're getting a feeling and you're getting a read, pay attention to that. Until we meet again, namaste.